Hey, so in this video we'll be doing the Easter eggs and prediction for Season 1, Episode 6 of Marvel's Wandavision, so beware, spoiler not caught up. So the episode title was called All New Halloween Spooktacular, referring to the fact that this was a Halloween episode. And it could be, this is probably a stretch, but for some odd reason, I thought of the comic book run, all new, all different, uh, all different comic book run that ran from 2000 October 2015 till I don't know if it's still going on or not, but as far as I found it says something about it ending in 2019. I could be wrong about that, but it just that all new part of the title reminded me of the all new, all different comic book run. So yeah, and since it's the Halloween episode, we actually they gave them the opportunity to give the characters their comic book costumes. So Wanda's wearing her costume, Vision's wearing his costume, Pietro's wearing his costume, and Wiccan is wearing his costume. The only one that didn't get his costume, which is really weird, is Speed, because in the comic books, uh, Speed's costume is green, so I'm not 100% sure why they didn't do that here. So yeah, it just kind of felt a little bit odd. And going actually into the episode, we find out that for some odd reason, WandaVision skipped the 90s because last episode was the 80s, and this episode directly influenced by the early 2000s to late 2000s ish, because uh, the intro of this episode was actually inspired by the Milkman in the Middle show, which premiered on January 9th, 2000. So it has that, but then you have a flashback Billy and Tommy doing Dance Dance Revolution, which came out in I believe 1999. So I guess there's a connection to the 90s there, but on one of the kids' heads they were wearing a Minecraft hat, and Minecraft, as far as I found out, it came out on October 7th, 2011. So this episode was direct influenced, most likely it was obviously more influenced by the 2000s than it was for the 90s, which is kind of weird that they skipped from 80s to 90s for this episode. So yeah, but when we see Wanda in her costume, the kids are guessing what she's supposed to be, and they call her Old Red Riding Hood. That's just mean to say that to your mother, saying that she's old. But then she corrects them and saying that it's Sokovian fortune teller, obviously referring to her Sokovian background and whatnot. And then you have this like weird flashback of Pietro's memories of their time in Sokovia trick or treating, and there's kind of discussion about who are the characters supposed to be or whatever. Uh, Pietro looks like he's supposed to be Nick Fury, and I think is supposed to be Black Widow, because her hair and looks like she was wearing in Endgame, I think it was, with braid and whatnot. So yeah, but then she had antennas, I think. So I don't know why. So yeah, uh, and you have Detective Hayward basically just snapping at Monica for basically, I guess, not following his orders. I guess something along those lines, or like trying to defend Wanda, and throwing the history with Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, the snap, and how it affected Hayward's response to like how they were going through to the next stage of Sword, and then through her mother's death to interface, which is very rude. Like, I don't know, like, why this guy is so rude. Like, obviously he's the antagonist, a villain or whatever, but he he's like there's no redeeming qualities of this guy. So I wonder exactly what his motives actually is for dealing with Vision and whatnot. So yeah, but you go back to uh, Westview storyline, and you actually see a glimpse of a person in a costume with that had uh, Jason's mask and Freddy's shirt. So it's a mixture of those two iconic horror killers. So yeah, but after this, you have Pietro actually yell to the kids, "Unleash hell, demon spawns," which could be a reference to the comics because uh, Billy and Tommy were like created like created by Mephisto, the devil, and whatnot. So like they would be demon spawns uh, in the comics. So they could be here as well if that's where they're gonna go, or it just could be a red herring. I don't know, but it's a possibility that is a reference to the comic books of them being actual demon spawns. So yeah, but then you have an exchange where uh, they say the kids say kick ass, and then Wanda says kick ass question mark in a way, and that's a reference to the fact that Evan Peters was actually in the movie Kick Ass with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who also played Pietro in the MCU. So both Quicksilvers were in Kick Ass. So that's a cool little reference there. Uh, and I don't know what the context of this thing was because I haven't went back and watched after writing this down, and I'm not remembering exactly what it was anyway. But uh, Pietro said a need for speed, which is a was set in a Top Gun with a Top Gun with Tom Cruise and whatnot. So it could be a reference to that. I don't know if that actually is the case, but you have this conversation with uh, Pietro and Wanda, where Wanda's trying to figure out exactly what's going on and why Pietro is different, like looks different and acts different and stuff like that. Because earlier on in the episode, I forgot to mention that with a flashback of Wanda and Pietro trick or treating, Wanda doesn't remember that way. So obviously that memory is not actually a real memory that Wanda actually has or had. So I don't know exactly why this Pietro would have said this if because it's not because it has no ties to Wanda at all. So yeah, but you have uh, Wanda asks Pietro what happened to your accent, and then he comes back and asks what happened to yours, referring to the fact that she doesn't really use her accent anymore because she's in America and like she's just basically doesn't because she's so around everyone else, she just uses the American accent. So yeah, but brings up a good question: why, if this is supposed to be Pietro from our MCU, why doesn't he have an accent, even though he looks like the Evan Peters Quicksilver from the X-Men movies? So yeah, there's some really weird scenario going on in that with him, and I'll talk about later on in the this video for predictions. But you have Pietro say that he was shot like a Trump in the streets, referring to the fact that was called Pietro died saving Hawkeye and a kid in Sokovia in the Age of Ultron, and then you have this. Scene where the kids are just walking down down a road, and on the theater theater board back behind them, they actually show two movies that are playing in the movie theaters at the time. And the first one is The Incredibles, which came out in November 5th, 2004, and it's all about a magic or a superhero family. So referencing the fact that what's called uh, referencing the fact that Wanda and her family are all superpowered people. So cool little reference there. But then the other one is Parent Trap, which came out on July 29, 1998. And that's all about basically twins separating uh, separating their separating their lives to get their parents back together, something along those lines. And You had earlier on this episode, you actually talking about Malcolm in the Middle. You actually have, I think it's, I'm not sure what their names are really. I know it's Billy and Tommy, but I don't know which one's which. But the I think it was Wiccan who was actually talking to the camera, and that's actually what happens in Malcolm in the Middle. The main character Malcolm always talked to the camera, so you actually have I think it was Wiccan in this episode talking to the camera, and he was saying that uh, his parents been fighting all that kind of stuff, all this kind of time, ever since Pietro showed up. So it's a possibility that there's a little kind of connection there, where the twins in Parent Trap were trying to get their parents back together. Kind of, it could be a reference to that, but also the fact that there are twins in this show, which are actually two sets of twins with Pietro and Wanda, and Wiccan and Speed, or Billy and Tommy. Uh, so it could be that, but the fact that they were twins were switching places in the movie, it's a possibility. It's also a reference to the fact that uh, this Pietro isn't the Pietro we should know from the MCU. It's a different one. So it's a switching of switching of a twin in a multiverse or whatever is going on in this scenario. It's a possibility. It's a reference to that as well. So yeah, and you have this thing where Wanda's saying like after discovering Speed is discovered his powers of super speed. Wanda warns them not to go past Ellis Avenue, which could be a reference to President Alice in the MCU. I don't know if he's the president still because it's been a long time. I don't know exactly how that would work, especially with the snap and all that stuff. So I don't know. But we have back on out in the real world, you have Darcy, Wu, and Monica, just in this computer room, I guess. And Darcy's trying to hack in there, and they discovered that Hayward is actually has the test results for or I think not test results, blood work or something like that for Monica, but also that he's been actually tracking vibranium, and I think they called it vibranium, dead vibranium, I think something like that, or corpse or something like that, and they're referring to the fact that Hayward is actually tracking Vision in Westview. So he knew this whole entire time that Vision is in there. Don't exactly know why he's tracking him. We know that he was experimenting on for something, because he was torn apart in that video that we saw. But I don't know why he's so hell bent on getting Vision back, and like even willing to kill him and letting him die. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But you have Vision basically ignore the wishes of Wanda, even though he wasn't actually the one being told, it was the kids. But he goes and ends up going past Ellis Avenue, and he comes across Agnes, and Agnes is kind of out of the trance, I guess, because she was talking, whereas other people weren't talking. But Vision does this mind tapping thing where it snaps Vision or Agnes out of her trance, I guess, and she starts talking to him, saying that that he's an Avenger, that he's dead, and she keeps saying you're dead, and dead. So it's Vision is slowly realizing exactly what's going on, I guess, in a way. And I think it's possible that Agnes was faking it and actually just wanted to push Vision in the right direction of trying to put a wedge between Wanda and Vision. More of a wedge than there already is. So, yeah. But going back to the test results I mentioned, uh, you have Darcy saying that uh, you have to do more tests or whatever, and Monica says I've had seen too many tests for a lifetime, referring to the fact that and talking about remission, referring to the fact that Monica's mother Maria had passed away from cancer and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So she doesn't care that her DNA has been changing because of going in and out of the hex bubble. So yeah, but you have this scene where Wanda's talking to Pietro, just like sitting down, and Pietro's wondering exactly how Wanda did this, like putting a hex over Westview. How were the kids not introduced until now, and stuff like that. But you have this little quick scene, just like a couple of episodes ago with Vision, where uh, where P- where Pietro ended up looking like a dead Pietro, which would have been that happened in Age of Ultron, even though in Age of Ultron Wanda never saw his dead body. I don't think. So she wouldn't have seen it with bullet holes, but or whatever. But here you have Evan Peters Pietro's dead body with bullet holes, like referencing the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character was uh was called dead, just like a couple episodes ago with Vision, where he Wanda saw a dead version of Vision. So I'm starting to think that it's not actually Wanda snapping out of it, out of reality. It might actually be someone manipulating them, manipulating around them, and actually trying to mess with Wanda's mind, because I don't know what if Wanda was snapping out of this reality. I would think she wouldn't have seen Evan Peters Pietro. I think she would have saw uh, Aaron Taylor Johnson's Pietro's dead body. So I think it's really uh, someone else orchestrating those two instances, where that it wasn't actually Wanda snapping out of reality. It might actually have been someone else messing with her mind in those scenarios. So yeah, but you have Pietro just being a rude person again, uh, like a rude person saying that your dead husband cannot die twice, which also goes back to how Pietro's been acting really weird, because this Pietro should not, or yeah, this Pietro should not know that uh, Vision was dead, because he died years before Vision died. So he should not have known that memory or whatever. So yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on in this scenario, but I do have a theory, and it's a popular theory. And that is, uh, and it's so I'm gonna go back. I'm going to go to predictions now, and I honestly think, uh, Pietro is someone in disguise. I don't know exactly who it is, whether it's Mephistos, because he's the devil and whatnot, or it could be, like I was mentioning a couple of episodes ago, there's this character called Chthon, and it's a possibility it's him. I want it to be Chthon, so it's connected to the Darkhold and whatnot. But it does feel like this Pietro is not a Pietro from the X-Men universe or this MCU universe. So it's someone using that face to trick Wanda. And the reason that I'm going with that is because this this episode's commercial was all about Yo Magic yogurt, I think it was, and it was about this kid that was so hungry on a deserted island, basically isolated, kind of like what Wanda is, where has isolated herself away from actual reality, and then a shark comes over and says that uh, like he talks to the kid for a bit, saying that he asks no the kid asks uh, how are you not hungry or something like that, and he replies saying I feed on your eat your magic yo magic, and it sounds like he's actually referring to the shark is referring to the fact that he's actually feeding on this kid's energy, kind of like or magic, whereas Wanda has actually magic. So this entity or whatever it is actually feeding on Wanda, and is getting stronger, whereas maybe Wanda's actually getting weaker, and this commercial might be symbolizing the deal with the devil sort of thing, where Wanda made the deal with the devil, not realizing that you could get Vision back, but I'm going to take your powers, your magic, and use it for yourself for myself. So it's a possibility that's what's going on in this scenario, and we're just seeing the deal with the devil in this cartoonish world. So yeah. Uh, so comment down below if I missed any Easter eggs or references, or if you have any predictions for the upcoming episodes. See ya.